see everybody's enjoying the event. So, well, I'll say first, for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Greg Wirtz. I am the New York City chapter head of RedBar. Just want to welcome everybody. Thank you. All right. I'm going to be your Adam Craniotis for tonight, but I will not wear sandals in any situation in the city. So, just want to start off by thanking Longines. This is an amazing event, as you guys could see. This is they're really going above and beyond. So everybody, I think a round of applause for Longines is appropriate. Also, a round of applause for Kathleen and Troy at RedBar HQ. I was on the email chains. They are incredibly long. Incredibly long. There was so much planning that went into this. So please enjoy. So I am here tonight with Daniel Hug and the historian and walking encyclopedia for all things Longines. And we're going to start with a little video and about the history of the brand, and then we have a little discussion, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So let's begin.
Thank you, Greg. That's really great to be here. Thank you, Kathleen, to have us here. That's the first time we do that in New York, the city that never sleeps, with the watches that never stop, I guess. And it's really a fantastic place here. And I'm happy to bring here some special watches with us from our museum. Some of them are to see here for the first time, like the personal watch of British aviator Amy Johnson, a very special watch. The instrument of Howard Hughes that he used in '38 when he did the world record flight around the world in just 3 days and 19 hours. And a very special cockpit clock that Hugh Herndon and Clyde Pangburn were using on their first trans-Pacific flight from Japan to Seattle in 41 hours. So you see, we have one very strong pillar in aviation and producing special timepieces and instruments for aviators. The other pillar that I would like to introduce you tonight is our timekeeping activities. So to understand that in a better way, what you see in the short video is timekeeping really done by Longines, with Longines watches, stopwatches, and equipment. When you see today a sport event, you see a brand is on this event. Very often, it's not this brand who is really doing the timing, but another brand behind it. A supplier that is technically very advanced, and they are doing all the timekeeping. That was not the case with Longines. And I would like to present you some watches Longines really did in this time period. And the important thing is they learned something when they did this kind of timekeeping. Like, for instance, how to master high frequency movements. And that makes us very different from a lot of other brands. But instead of talking a lot, I would like to show you a very short film about the history of timekeeping.
Every race against time begins long before the finish line, where commitment and passion ignite. Ours began in Switzerland's famed watch valley in 1832. Auguste Agassiz would begin a watchmaking company that would continue to evolve for over 190 years and counting. In 1878, Longines' accuracy served the sporting world with distinction. A new century brought new innovations with the first broken wire sports timer. In 1914, high-frequency movements allowed us to make history again, measuring sporting events to 1/10 of a second. 2 years later, it would become 1/100th. As the boundaries of physical abilities were broken, so were the limits of precision. And in 1954, Longines led the way again by introducing the first quartz timekeeper. As athletes strive to overcome the obstacle of time, Longines are there to measure it. With the same dedication, passion, and commitment to our quest. But what happens when we cross the finish line? Where do we go from there? We record. We rejoice. And we reset the standard on our quest for precision. Longines' association with the Commonwealth Games began in Perth, 1962, where performance was tested to its limits and was measured at 100 frames per second. In 2018, we introduced quantum timers, enhancing resolution to a millionth of a second. From our inception in 1832 through to Birmingham 2022 and beyond, we've shared a common goal with the athletes we record to always go one better, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. We will always treat the finish line as a new beginning. Birmingham 2022. The quest continues. Longines, quest for precision.
I promised it would be.
Gwinnett County Air Force. Metro Washington.
We could watch videos all night. That was I thought that was a great little background there. But Daniel, for a company with so much history, you touched a little bit on the aviation history and the sporting history. If you go a little more into that, maybe a couple examples of the watches and the technology. I think that would be very interesting to all the watch nerds out there. Please.
Of course, what is interesting, as I said, when doing, for instance, professional timekeeping, you need really very special watches, and this was the reason why Longines was looking for techniques to measure very short period of time, to divide the seconds even further and further, because as athletes becoming faster and the best were closer together, it was, for instance, very hard to distinguih who has won the race. And that was the reason why we introduced stopwatches to measure one tenth of a second. And
This is why you guys want to get close right now.
and for instance, this one 1/100th of a second. And if you look at it, how it works mechanically, it's really quite amazing.
I don't know why everybody thought I was lying. I wasn't lying. You want to get close? Get in there.
And in this watch, within this watch, the second hand is doing one full movement, rotation 360 degrees in 3 seconds. And on the auxiliary dial at 12 o'clock, you have a minute counter. So interesting is the frequency here. The frequency is 50 hertz or 360,000 vibrations an hour. And this piece is not the very first one, but the first timekeeper 1/100th of a second Longines produced in 1916. This one is from the 30s.
1916. Yes.
1916, yes. And if you are doing watches like this, there are a lot of questions. So one of them is doing high frequency watches. It gives you a problem that, for instance, the oil spreads everywhere in the movement. If it's turning so fast, you need other techniques how to solve this problem of lubrication. That's the reason why Longines developed some patents that they can work with high frequency without oil, with a special treatment of surfaces, so a kind of dry lubrication. And this patent was made in '66 for the launch of the Ultra Pro. And The amazing thing is that after a certain time, when they worked with high frequency, they also learned that they can improve the accuracy of the watch, not just to measure sport events, but also to make the movements much more accurate. And this is what was one of the main reasons why they developed in 1959 a very unusual rectangular high-frequency movement. With this, they participated in the observatory chronometer competitions, and this was actually the first movement in wristwatch size that used high frequency. And we have we don't have the watch here, but we have a picture. Could you jump to slide number 360? This very special watch, this caliber 360, launched in 1959, you will see it just afterwards, was winning all the first prizes in 1961 and 62. And to give you just an idea of the precision of this movement, here we have it in 1959. It's this watch, and the movement was rectangular. This watch had an average deviation on 24 hours of 0.1 second. I mean, imagine that. Even in today's standards, it's very difficult to achieve. I mean, to be honest, we don't achieve it today. To produce a watch that is accurate to 0.1 second a day, it's just incredible. And Longines did 200 pieces of this very special movement. It was kind like the Formula One of watchmaking. Then the best watchmakers were working on this project. The best regulators were fine-tuning all these movements, and it paved the way afterwards for the Ultrachron of 67, where Longines gave a promise: the watch is accurate to 1 minute a month. Why to 1 minute a month? Because at that time there was a very famous American brand, Bulova, with the Accutron. It was a tuning fork movement with a battery, not a mechanical battery, and an oscillator with this tuning fork. And they reached an accuracy of 1 minute a month. Then Longines came and said, hey, that's really a tough limit, but we will try to do it, but purely mechanical, without battery. And they really achieved this with the Ultrachron high frequency watch in 1967. And it was the last time in watch history that a mechanical movement was as accurate as an electronic movement. It happened never again afterwards. It was really the last time we achieved with purely mechanical movement the same standard of accuracy. And that's why I think it's really a milestone in the watchmaking industry. And just as an information, if you think that was just a PR gimmick to say, well, it's precise 1 minute a month or 2 seconds a day, we gave this promise in all our advertisements, and we said, if the watch is not as accurate as that, you can bring it back to your Longines dealer and he will adjust it to this tolerance. Now you have to know that we produced around 500,000 of Ultrachron watches, and if these watches were not as accurate as that, I think Longines would have been bankrupt afterwards if everyone had to bring back their watch and they had to rework everything. But it's the truth that this watch was outstanding in terms of accuracy, and it was the inspiration for the new Ultrachron we launched this year.
Absolutely. I think you have a I have no knowledge, but I think if you bring back that caliber 360, you have a really good limited edition on your hands. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I feel like that could work. That could work. I think a lot of people in the room would want to get that watch. So one thing, researching, for tonight, a really kind of fun Longines trivia thing that I found was about the logo and the history of the logo. Could you tell everybody a little bit about that? It's pretty incredible.
Thank you for this question. And it's really amazing that they started to engrave this logo that is a winged hourglass in as early as 1867, when they constructed the new factory with mechanical production of watch movements that could be where the components could be interchanged. Then they also developed this logo that has been very often engraved directly on the movement, and the aim was to protect the Longines watches from copycats. Longines achieved already at that time unusual high precision, so that has as a consequence
And when was this?
It started in 1867. We have the first
1867.
With
1867, they had to worry about counterfeit.
And you see the fancy thing, you see still the name of Francion, so the co-founder, that was the nephew of Agassiz, and then Longines Swiss, because formerly the company was not named yet Longines, but Francion. That's why his name is over the winged hourglass. And then later on, Longines registered this trade name and the logo in 1889 nationally in Switzerland and in 1893 internationally, because this body didn't exist. The World Intellectual Property Organization did not yet exist, so they had to wait till they could protect the trademark and the logo. And it's apparently the oldest one still in use today in this form. I mean, today...
That's the trivia question for the quiz later.
The winged hourglass is today a bit more simplified, not with these very nice wings you see in the original ones. The inspiration was time flies, you can't hold time. And it was a philosophical meaning behind this logo. First, I thought they are so visionary, they were already thinking about aviation. That's why they put wings on the hourglass. But of course, there was no airplane at this time, so it much more they thought it in a philosophical way.
Very good. All right, let's talk about some of the recent successes. So, Spirit Zulu Time, the Ultra Chron, the Master Collection, the Record Heritage. You guys have been really busy. Very, very busy. Congratulations.
Yes.
Is this gonna continue? You guys every month or two? You got a whole brand new watch coming? Or what do we have in store here?
Sure, we have to survive. We have to do something. We have to move on. No, I think not every launch has the same technical importance. So not in every launch we have to really work very hard on the technical side. But it's our aim to go on this way, to bring more watchmaking content into our watches. That has been that was a bit less important in the last decade, but the Longines roots really tell this story that we always were at the forefront of technical developments, and we are working on many projects for next year, for 24. Interesting things that are unique, that just Longines has ever made. And I think you should stay tuned, and I try to surprise you all.
Very good, very good. There's been a real increase with the vintage pieces. Do you think, or the vintage inspired pieces, do you think the vintage pieces themselves have the collector community has embraced them yet, or do you think that's it's a real opportunity for collectors, a new rabbit hole to go down that a lot of people are overlooking? Not a softball question at all.
It's a tricky question. Maybe the average Longines collector is a bit different than many other watch collectors, because the Longines watches were not really object of speculation, and they kept high values, some pieces, and are highly searched. If you want to have a mushroom pusher of 1938 or 39, you can ask Glenn. He's here, he has one of these beautiful pieces on his wrist. But they are hard to find, hard to get, they are expensive, they keep their value. These are some pieces that have been discovered already by collectors. But I can tell you that the production of Longines over all these years is so rich that there are many, many pieces that have not yet discovered by the collectors community. Some of them have risen just recently, but there is still room for discoveries, I would say. And they are in my view, a lot of them are totally underestimated. If you look at the quality, if you look at the innovation, if you compare that to other brands, they are totally underestimated.
Maybe you're one Philips auction away.
We stay in touch with Philips Auction, with Oral Box. We have some plans, but of course he is a very knowledgeable man, and he is aware of the potential of Longines. That's also why we are speaking together.
That's one quick point. Can you talk just very quickly about the archives? Because I don't know if everybody appreciates how great your archives are.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it's also something that distinguishes us from many other watch brands. Yeah, exactly. This is a picture of our archive in the museum. If you ever have the chance to come to Switzerland and visit Saint-Imier, I can show you that room with all the books. What is in these books? I mean, every single Longines watch since 1867 has its individual serial number. And all these watches are registered in those books, handwritten in that time. And that allows us to track back every Longines watch. So
1867.
1867. When has the watch been produced? With which caliber? Sometimes there are some notes about the dial or the case, and then surely there are notes where did the watch has been sold. So in which country did we deliver the watch? And if you like, we can do for every of these watches an archive extra. So you have a document that tells you all about your watch. The other certificate we do is the certificate of authenticity, but then we need your watch in Saint-Imier to really do a proper investigation of everything. And it goes to the Atelier Heritage and we check everything.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic. I wish every brand would respect their history so much. I think we have a few minutes for Q&A. And I will remember who asks and who does not ask questions and future things. So let's get going here. All right.
If you have a question, raise your hand and I will bring the microphone to you.
Remember, I'm at all the events, so you'll see me at all the things.
Come on, there's some press folks in here.
There we go.
All right.
Hi, I'm a press folk, as Kathleen said.
And so much more.
And so much more. Actually wearing my 1973 Serge Manzon, which has that certificate of authenticity that this
Great.
watch went back to Switzerland and was verified. But my question to you is, I'm also wearing the Longines by Evie that came out this year, which seemingly was a watch geared toward the next generation, to millennials, to Gen Z. Where is Longines headed? What's your idea? Again, you're doing these sort of like, homage watches, but then you're also doing watches like this that are trying to sort of hit the younger market. Do you know who you are? Where are you going with this? Are you trying to hit both markets? That's not, look, I'm not being asked right now. I really want to know, like, is this the thing where you're like, you know what, we want to get in touch with our heritage, but we also want to get in touch with the next generation? Because I own the next generation. I have two of them. They came out of my body. So I want to know what you represent to them, and is it the same as what you represent to me?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you. I mean, you are a perfect example. You have the two watches that fit together, because Serge Manzon, when we collaborated with him in the early 70s, he was really into fashion. He was understanding a lot about fashion pieces as well. On the same time, he had a very original idea for this special case. And what we are doing with the Dolce Vita, you are wearing with a special strap, is to refresh this typical rectangular watch. Now, you have to know that Longines is producing rectangular watches since about 1910, 1912 around. So we have huge history in rectangular watches, in curvex watches, in square watches. And we think that the Dolce Vita is a timeless design, and the aim was just to refresh it and to make it accessible also for a younger audience that likes to be a bit, maybe a bit more in this rock and roll style, and to have something different, to have a refresh. But the watch in itself is still timeless elegance. As you know, we have the slogan, "Elegance is an attitude," and this keeps where it stands also for this watch. So we go into the direction that we refresh some collections. On the same time, we continue to do really technological advanced watches with watchmaking content.
He showed you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Dalen, not press. Yeah. So a lot of industries credit the adaptive creativity to technological advances. How do you think that technological advances have affected the mechanical watchmaking industry, specifically from your brand, since you have so many innovative creativities in the past? Do you think this has been beneficial for pushing watchmaking forward, or do you think it's been detrimental to the creativity in the industry?
Thank you for this question. Very interesting. Yeah, I think if you look what kind of watches have been produced in the last 20, 30 years, I think there was a phase where everyone wanted to produce tourbillon watches. Then there was the phase that everyone wanted to have the minute repeater. Does this add to the accuracy of the watch? Does it improve the precision of the watch? I'm not sure about it. I think that was more status-driven development because people knew, oh, it's expensive to produce a tourbillon. Okay, let's make a tourbillon, then we can have a much higher price tag on the watch. And the same goes with the minute repeater. For me, this is another kind of watchmaking. Longines, as you see, our roots, Longines was much more the essential watchmaker, the essential timekeeper, or the essential, one collector called us once, Auro Montanari, who writes books on the name John Goldberger, a great collector. He said once, Longines is the inventor of the tool watch. And I think that's a very good sentence because all you see here, these are tool watches. I mean, the pilots, they needed it for navigation. If you look at the watch of Amy Johnson, for instance, a huge pilot's watch, and by the way, she's wearing exactly this watch on the photo here in 1937. This is not a normal watch. It's a watch that is timed on sidereal time, not civil time. A day in civil time has 24 hours. But if you use sidereal time, which is essential if you do observations of the stars and celestial navigation, you need sidereal time. But in sidereal time, a day lasts just 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. Shorter. This watch is moving faster than a normal watch. And why?
I think that brings up a good point. So I think we got to wrap it up. But when anybody
Yes.
wants to really nerd out about this, Daniel's going to be here. So everybody come. I talked to him about this. You guys want to talk to him about this, but we don't want to keep you all night. But see the vitrines. There are amazing things. The Longines team will explain. Daniel will explain. What else? Your swag at the end is a book, because this is a very intellectual brand and you should read more. What else we got? Any other notes for the crowd?
No, I think that's all we had. But yes, again, please feel free to speak with Daniel directly.
You definitely want to.
He is, as Greg said, a walking encyclopedia of Longines history, and so I think most of you in this room would probably learn something from him. And please enjoy the rest of the evening. And again, thank you to Longines for hosting.
Great job, Greg!